Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lessons.
We're so happy you're here.
This is the podcast where you can improve your English one simple conversation at a time.
We speak slowly, clearly, and use easy English for beginner learners.
So, whether you're at home, walking, driving, or relaxing, you can listen and learn with us.
Before we begin, if you enjoy learning English with us, please subscribe to the Lessons channel.
We share new English lessons every week to help you build your vocabulary, improve your listening, and speak with more confidence.
And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss a new lesson.
Okay, so here's something interesting. Did you know that your brain can process a foreign language faster if you stop translating it? It's like flipping a switch from slow mode to fast mode.
Oh, that's fascinating. So you're saying the act of translating is what slows people down the most when learning a new language?
Exactly. It's not just about vocabulary or grammar. It's about how your brain processes the information. When you translate, you're taking the long road. But when you think directly in English, it's like finding a shortcut that saves you time and energy.
That makes so much sense. But I imagine it's easier said than done, right? How does someone even begin to train their brain to think in English instead of translating?
Well, that's what we're diving into today. It's all about starting small, building habits, and feeding your brain the right kind of input. But let's start with why we translate in the first place. It's a natural instinct, really.
Right, because when you're learning a new language, your brain relies on what it already knows, your native language. It's like a safety net.
Exactly. So, when you hear a word or sentence in English, your brain immediately asks, what does this mean in my language? Then it translates it, thinks of a response in your language, and translates that response back into English.
And that whole process takes time. I mean, imagine someone asks you, how was your weekend? First, you have to understand the question in English. Then you mentally translate it into your language. Then you think of your answer in your language. And finally, you translate that answer back into English.
It's like running a mental obstacle course, and by the time you're ready to respond, the conversation has already moved on. It's frustrating, and it makes you feel like your English is worse than it actually is.
So the problem isn't really the person's English, it's the habit of translating that's slowing them down.
Exactly. Translating is like taking the scenic route when you're trying to get somewhere fast. Thinking in English, on the other hand, is like taking the express lane. It's faster, easier, and way more natural.
But here's the big question. How do you make that switch? How do you train your brain to stop translating and start thinking in English?
The key is to start small. Don't try to think in long, complicated sentences right away. Begin with simple, everyday thoughts. For example, when you wake up in the morning, instead of thinking, today I have to finish many important tasks before the afternoon, just think, I am awake, or good morning.
Oh, that's so much more manageable. Short, simple thoughts like, I need coffee, or it's sunny outside. It's like you're teaching your brain to crawl before it can walk.
Exactly. And over time, you can build up to slightly longer sentences like, I'm going to work, or where are my keys? These are sentences you use every day, so they'll become automatic with repetition.
That's such a great point. Repetition really is the key. Your brain loves patterns, and the more you repeat something, the more natural it becomes.
And that brings us to another important piece of the puzzle: input. To think in English, your brain needs a steady diet of English. You have to feed it with listening and reading every single day.
That makes sense. It's like how babies learn language. They spend months just listening before they ever say a word. They're absorbing the sounds, the patterns, and the rhythm of the language.
Exactly. Babies hear words and sentences over and over again, and eventually, they start to speak. As an English learner, you need the same kind of input. The more English you hear and read, the easier it becomes to think in English.
And it doesn't have to be anything complicated, right? You can listen to easy podcasts, read children's stories, or even simple news articles. The key is consistency. 5 or 10 minutes a day is better than 1 hour once a week.
Absolutely. And don't worry if you don't understand everything at first. That's completely normal. The first time you listen to something, you might understand 50%. The second time, 60%. and so on.
That's so reassuring. Even native speakers don't understand everything all the time. If you miss something, it's okay to ask, "Can you say that again?" That's part of real communication.
Now, input is important, but it's only half the story. The other half is output, using English, speaking and writing. A lot of learners wait until they feel their English is perfect before they start speaking. But here's the thing. Perfect never comes first. Practice comes first.
Yes, practice leads to improvement, and improvement builds confidence, and you don't even need another person to practice with. You can talk to yourself.
It sounds funny, but it works. Walk around your house and say things like, "This is my chair," or "I'm making dinner." You're speaking, you're practicing, and nobody's judging you.
You can also write just 3 sentences a day. For example, "Today was good. I worked. I watched a movie." That's enough. The important thing is to keep it simple and keep going.
And to make it stick, build a daily habit. It doesn't have to be a big, complicated plan. Maybe 5 minutes in the morning to listen to English, 5 minutes in the afternoon to read something short, and 5 minutes in the evening to speak or write.
The key is consistency. Even on busy days, even if you're tired, 5 minutes is better than 0. Your brain loves habits. The more you repeat, the easier it becomes.
And don't be afraid of mistakes. Everyone makes them, learners, teachers, even native speakers. Mistakes are how you learn.
Exactly. So don't wait to be perfect. Start today. Speak today. Write today. Listen today. Read today. One small step at a time.
And before you know it, after a month, 3 months, a year, you'll see how far you've come. You'll feel more confident, and you might even surprise yourself.
So, to wrap up, stop translating every thought. Start small, feed your brain with English, practice output every day, build a daily habit, and don't be afraid of mistakes.
Small steps lead to big results. Thank you for spending time with us today. We hope this conversation helped you.
If it did, come back next time. Keep learning, keep smiling, and keep believing in yourself.
And before we go, here's our question for you. What's one small English habit you'll start today to help yourself think more in English?
We'd love to hear your answer. See you next time.
Bye.
Goodbye.